Another sketchbook complete, so it's time for a sketchbook tour. This is a pretty thick, big hardcover sketchbook. It has been a beautiful ride with this one, and I am super excited to show you inside. Whether or not it's your first time here, my name is Jess. I'm a full-time artist, and I'm so grateful you made it to our 15th sketchbook tour to add to the playlist on the channel. Let's jump right in with the front cover. During my travels, I ended up finding this sticker in a local gallery, and I love the word grateful. Gratitude is something that I live by and stand by, so I thought it was perfectly fitting to include in my sketchbook cover. To the inside cover. So I began this sketchbook in April of 2024 and I finished it June of 2025, so it was a pretty long run. It's a pretty fat sketchbook, so it took a little bit of time to fill, especially that they're bigger pages. And I decided to include one of my favorite characters that I have in thumbnails. Like this funny guy with like this big nose and these like 3 little hairs. Just holding up the sign and saying, "Hello beautiful, welcome to a creative space to experiment, play, make a mess, and express yourself," with you emphasized. May this be a place of fun, healing, learning, loving, and infinite transformation. Just a little note to myself. For anyone who may need this, also just a note to you is just remember to trust in yourself, trust in your instincts, trust in your heart. And I thought like how cool that heart has the word art in it. Was just fun to make, super quick, and I've been really loving emphasizing text and just doodles. The first page in the sketchbook, always the most ambitious at the start. I really wanted to practice large figures. I was usually working in a smaller 5x7 size or like 6x9, and having a larger about 9x11 page or 8x11 page, I was able to create these larger figures and more dynamic shapes to fit into the sketchbook. So I thought this was a very fun time, and I was like, oh my goodness, why have I not used big sketchbooks before? I definitely want to have a smaller one for like on-the-go stuff, but having a big one in the studio was just a love at first sight after trying it. So here I just used the 4-in-1 ballpoint pen that has red, blue, green, and just having fun drawing with the pen. I think ballpoint pen is a great tool to just practice with. It allows you to gain confidence and it doesn't let you erase, which I'm a huge fan of because then it doesn't let you overthink. You kind of just have to put it down and rock with it. I think this guy's super cool. I really wanted to emphasize the feet along with the hand gestures and just get a cool smile on his face. You almost can feel him moving into the page. Here was April's Happy Mail that I designed for my patrons. I usually start them in my sketchbook, then I scan them in, and then they become little pieces of postcards that I can send out to you guys in the mail. So basically, exclusively on Patreon, I'll take scans in my sketchbook, and if you're signed up for the tier, you can collect them. Here, I actually bought these new brush pens, and I didn't know that they come in orange. They're a typical brush pen, but I had no idea they came in all these like fun colors. So I ended up getting the orange one, and that's what I created with that. Had lots of fun with it. Then I loved that one so much that I created a full spread with a little bit of colored pencil. This one came from imagination. As I was making this drawing, I realized also that I really want to play around with portraiture and some abstract shapes. This is kind of what I did when I was little, about 5 or 6 years old. My mom told me I would take these irregular shapes and these lines and make all these cool shapes that kind of formed into something. When you're doing it, you don't really know what's happening, but at the end, it all comes together some way, somehow, through trust and following through. Okay, so here we've got a bunch of different portrait studies. It all started with this pink study that later turned into a video and a painting. And one of my favorites that I've filmed so far and captured There's a lot of love and heart and meaning behind it that opened up a lot of realizations as I painted it. And yeah, it was just a very special piece. And then I found this exact brush pen in green, so I decided to experiment with this guy, and that's what happened over here. That's Slew, and here are just some other really cool portraits. I really wanted to practice using the Indigo Prismacolor pencil. I wanted to practice some crosshatches, and this intention was all about distorting yet keeping the expression, the eyes, and just pushing and pulling shapes. So immediately with the sketchbook, I started experimenting with a lot of supplies, and in order to capture them and just see what they are and remember, I also started to swatch on the bottom, which I never really did. I was always keeping a page very clean, but now I just was like, okay, I'm going to refer back to this later, and I know it's going to help me in the future. So you may see lots of little swatches kind of mixed in throughout. On this page, it all started with some figure drawing practice, some sculpture practice, and I wanted to jump back into basics with some fine liners and colored inks, just testing out how the body can move with different shapes. And then this one I actually drew from life on the beach of this couple just enjoying their time. And I wanted to see how or a thicker background will look against the ink, just to see what colors work well with one another. I like how this one came out. Yeah, just little ones. I like to practice small scales and larger scales just to get a faster gesture in and then see how it works once it's a bit larger. All right, this page started out with a bunch of different things. I was actually designing a sticker for my patrons of this dinosaur. This was when I came back from Artists in Wonderland, and I really loved the dinosaur that we painted on the mural. So I wanted to kind of follow through with some more dinosaur characters. So I ended up making this one into a Patreon sticker, and my patrons loved it. Here's how it turned out. Look how cute. Like, check this out. I love seeing, after creating a drawing, how they turn into feasible stickers and things you can use. Here I just had a little prayer drawing, and I wrote some over here just to kind of get in the prayer vibes. Something that actually just I stumbled upon, and I decided to record it in the sketchbook. I've been doing some more yoga and trying to meditate more, so this is like a little thing of illustration of what it feels like sometimes when the mind can race, and these doodles represent that. This spread is from a sketchbook date that I have on the channel. It was to a beautiful science museum where I studied more dinosaurs. I guess I was very enthralled by the subject after Artists in Wonderland that we did. The nearby science museum had a whole exhibit on how they relate to birds as well. And I'll have the video linked up somewhere on the screen if you want to check it out. And then I created this one to capture everything else I saw in the exhibit. I learned about the energy of light and how each color has its own unique wavelength and energy. Then I saw a lot of beautiful fish, and I wanted to play around with some ink, markers, and graphite. I love seahorses after visiting that exhibit. They're just so fun and interesting. And I saw these beautiful birds making a nest. That was just so exquisite to witness. And yeah, just created these random shapes exploding out onto the spread. Okay, and look at this surprise. This is the Wisdom Whispers book that I actually wrote and illustrated, and it just got printed. And it is available on my shop to purchase. And thanks to our sponsors, Squarespace, I'm able to upload and have these available to you guys. This little booklet is something I made that you can carry with you anywhere you go or you want to have in your sketchbook. And I wrote a gentle reminder to help get you through the stormy days or skies of blue. a story with a raccoon and a tree. But as we take a quick break, I want to show you how simple it was to upload this on my website. In case you're curious, look how easy and seamless it was to upload. All I had to do was take my photos, drag and drop them onto my site, and boom, they are up and running for you to grab. Squarespace has award-winning templates, so everything is beautifully displayed. It's hassle-free, and if you ever need any help, they have 24/7 customer service. This is my first ever little written comic / booklet, and it is now available for purchase, so check it out. And if you're curious about setting up your own, head over to squarespace.com for your free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/justcarp for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. All right, let's jump back into the spread and talk about it. In this spread, I discovered new colors of fine liners, and I wanted to see how I could layer pink and blue. And when they overlapped, they created these beautiful darker blues, as you could see there. This was a breakthrough for me because I drew these three, and at the time I couldn't believe I drew them. I was like, wow, these came out great. And I was super excited. Here are some more fine liner ink drawings and studies. I always drew figures on their own, but I started to want to practice partner dancing and just two figures interacting and seeing how that can amplify the challenge, which it did. So if you want a good challenge, begin to practice how two figures interact, their motion, and you'll learn a lot. So to fully emphasize that and continuing practicing that, this spread was some more figures and movement and how figures magically dance in cohesion with one another. These ballerinas are all done in a colored mechanical pencil, and I also drew this one with a jumbo rainbow colored pencil. I love these so much when I made them, and I was very, very happy just experimenting with shapes. And looking back at this now, definitely a lot of breakthroughs sharing it with you. An awesome thing about drawing with a rainbow color pencil is that it looks like this, and when you start to draw with it, you never know what color you are going to get. And with that, there's an element of surprise, and it doesn't let you get too caught up in the color. You just lay down the mark, and then you're surprised with what color comes out. So that's what I really loved with this drawing, and I think their expressions are lovely. Some more color play. I was experimenting with colors that I don't really normally grab for portraits. This one came out super fun. And then this was with a new charcoal pencil and some figure studies that I tried over here. Some graphite drawings of kids just trying to explore different anatomy and just playing around with shapes as well. And just wanted to get back into graphite blending stub combo. Just a good classic. On this page, I really wanted to practice some more figures in motion in ink. And as soon as I started with the brush pen, I realized that it is a very sensitive tool and I have to be very delicate with it. It forced me to slow down and really just take my time with it. And on this spread, I wanted to explore all the different shapes and faces of women and really see how I can practice the brush pen with darker, more shaded areas, more lighter negative space, and just having less but making it appear as more. And this was a very interesting challenge for me because I drew, I don't even know how many faces there are here, but it took me a while, but it was very humbling to just slow down and capture the expression, but also with minimal action, minimal line. Just a larger figure all the way up on the page and just having them exist, feeling into just overlapping lines and how blue and red exist together on the page. And I'm happy with the outcome. I think definitely was something I wanted to continue to explore. On this page, I did a lot of practice with new supplies. I bought the Ecoline brush pens to see how I like them, and they were really interesting. At first, it was just a very watery, so I played around with some of that in these studies. Lots of experimentation with new supplies in this sketchbook. These were some Posca pen drawings, and I wanted to create just a more simple, quick gesture. Lighter fine liners, thicker brush pens, blue lines, black lines, red lines, just lots of play. And this is a Patreon sticker I made. One of my favorite spreads that I really spent a lot of time on, and this is also a video on the channel if you want to watch the process, but these are all figures in motion, double figures, dancers. I have a big dance background. I shared it in some of my videos at last, but I really want to study dancers and perhaps make paintings out of them. So this is the start of the subject and how I would actually depict them in paintings. And I love the motion that I was able to capture. It was so much fun to draw. And when I did this spread, I was like, I think I found a subject that just lightens me up and brings warmth to my heart. And I was just very, very happy to have began drawing dancers. So I have a close-up and some of the muscle studies in the back. I had a lot of fun with this one. Here on this spread is a little checklist for my Croatia art retreat trip. I wanted to include little goodie bags for everybody with supplies, and I got everybody's name, and I ended up making little name tags for everybody, so I had to make a quick checklist for everybody to create these when I welcomed everybody to the art retreat. And then here I was just practicing different brushes that I got, and just a little kind of drawing in graphite. On this spread, I drew some people swimming in water from life on the beach, and then I decided to doodle in a flower line drawing and a little flowered portrait that I was going to color in, but I ended up really liking how it looked on its own, just in orange. And then I created some more October Happy Mail that's like Halloween themed, and like a pumpkin spice latte and a little fun little drawing here. I really like the orange line work and then the mix of it with just a simplistic black line. Oh yeah, and I also ended up making these into these little kind of floral stickers. Super cute. This spread was a space symphony that I went to in a music fest, and I went with my friends and they decided to invite me. They're like, do you want to go to a symphony? I said, oh yeah. So I sat there with the sketchbook. I thought, I've never really captured a whole symphony from life in a larger sketchbook, so let's get a brush pen out. And in the dark, I was just drawing and drawing, and I realized that I was taking in the music more intensely and it was more special experience for me than just watching. I was like that in school where I would doodle while the teacher would lecture, and that would make me remember the information better, and it would just kind of settle in.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty far out.
Oh my god. That's really cool.
Just casually drew, you guys. Thank you for an amazing show.
Hey, look, that's me.
You recognize
and
yourself?
Like, and that's Steph. Yeah, that's me. I see because of the curls.
I love it.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Wait, you have to like...
This was a super fun one. I tried to capture everybody's expression while doing the drawings. This was a fun spread from the beach. I just wanted to find shapes with color and then define it with ink. Very, very simple, which I learned a lot from because you don't have to get the line or the shape perfect. You can always define it with ink after. but this was a great exercise to practice from life. And then I took some references and practiced even more when I got home. Something that I really like to do is practice from references, practice from life, and mix the two and see how the ones from life differed from the ones from the references, and see how I can cohesively bring it together. Funky little shaped drawings that I started to do. Here is a little study with this limited color palette, yellows and blacks, and some little graphites. This spread was a sketchbook date to the library. What an awesome day this was. I studied different historical objects, wrote about them, learned about them. My favorite way to study anything. I'll have it linked up here in case you want to watch. Love, love, love this day. Here is a spread where I wanted to practice some florals, and I ended up getting these new pens. They are the Pentel Energel pens, and they became some of my favorite drawing tools throughout the sketchbook because you can get so much color out, but also they're just a pleasure to draw with, especially in a smoother surface of a sketchbook. And here are some little tea packet little tags. I collect these. I have them all over my fridge, and I decided to paste them in the sketchbook because they ended up really with synchronicity matching all of the florals that I drew in this page. Here are some studies of my cat. Lots of little like facial expressions, and I tried to do some of them out of my head, some of them of her like washing herself, and then little sketches here in red and green, and wanted to see how it looks if I just define just a little bit in the nose. Yeah, this was a fun one. If you have a pet, I highly recommend doing a lot of studies while they're hanging out with you on the couch or you see them sleeping on the windowsill. Really great practice. Here are two portraits with the indigo Prismacolor, which is a love drawing with this. Really wanted to push the shapes, the expression, and this is a full tutorial up on the channel. I'll have all the videos linked down below. And this was a second part 2 that I recorded exclusively with my patrons live. We go online, we have class together, we have a great time, and then we have a little fun gallery at the end where we share our drawings together. So these two, one with burgundy and one with blue. One of my favorite topics to draw. I just have so much joy doing these. This spread is actually a highlighter with some gray ink and black. Limited color palette, but wanted to draw bigger and play around with just leaving some white negative space and seeing how it goes. So lots of play with color palettes in this sketchbook and really feeling into how they look with one another. So some blues, some pinks, some grays, but overall, lots of play. These are random doodles that I like to do that are pure meditation for me. I started them, I wanted to continue it, but I never did. I just thought it looked cool just on its own. And I was like, how about, I usually do them in black, but how about I'll have them go into red on the other page. So that's what I played around with on this spread. Here is a figure drawing session I went to here locally where I live. And I remember coming and I was like, oh my goodness, I am so rusty after making this drawing. And then these were 2 minutes each, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. And I used the indigo color pencil once more. And then this was the longer poses that I decided to do in a charcoal pencil, which I think it came out great. So maybe with these in that session, I just needed a good warm up. And then I was very, very happy with this one. And then to keep the page moving, I used some crayons and pastels to do these portrait studies of the model from life. I believe these were about 15 to 20 minutes each. And for anyone wondering, I use just a little tracing paper to protect the paper. Alrighty, on this spread were some really awesome drawings I got so excited about. Practicing frogs and practicing butterflies and moths. Something I never really did before, but had a blast. These were done with mechanical pencil and these were with fine liners. And I loved this little frog, so also became a Patreon sticker. Look at him. Oh yeah, and this one also, I wanted to make him sparkly. I combined the frogs and the butterfly moths kind of into one little meditating butterfly frog moth. I really enjoyed the fine liner, and this is the first time working with the Copic one that I wanted to make some more bird studies. Love, love, love birds. Super fun. This spread is actually a painting. It's acrylic. You'll see it's got a little gloss to it. I ended up seeing this tree at a nature botanical garden, and I had so much feelings after seeing that tree and seeing the sunlight behind it that I just decided to paint it when I got back. And here's kind of like what exploded out of there. Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and guess what? The sketchbook held up excellently to the acrylic paint. The only thing is that it kind of started to chip away at the seams, but that's okay. This is a sketchbook spread practicing horses. I started to fall in love with horses and I wanted to capture their motion. I remember when I was little, one of my art teachers would say that horses are the most difficult subject to draw. I wanted to tackle the challenge here. So I started to study some in brush pen. This is a unicorn. And the rest are just horse studies. Here I practiced some figure drawings, some ballpoint pen master studies, and one of my friends, I drew her while she was like doing some work on the computer. We were co-working together, random doodles, just a bunch of stuff on the page. Here was a movement and expression session we had on Patreon. We started with all these random warm-ups and moving the hand, practicing continuous line drawings, and just getting in all of this expressive movement. This was not taking the pen off the paper and just making a bunch of squiggly lines. So yeah. Here is a fun spread of tigers. Lots of different animal experimentations here, but brush pen, little fine liner, and I feel like this is a cool one. Can be a good painting. Very thin and long composition. So yeah, some fun tiger drawings here. Here are some more horse drawings, but with humans with them. And at first I started out with this drawing that I demoed, and then this one kind of came about, and then the background came about. Zero plan, but all these random elements kind of came together after. Here's a page that I wasn't sure what to do with, so I was like, let's experiment and play with painting it black and then drawing on top of it and inverting the drawing with white and green, kind of acrylic markers. And then this was like little studies for, I did an in-person session where I was drawing portraits at an event locally here, and I ended up having an idea where I get a big white canvas and I write "I am grateful for" in the middle, and I'll have all the guests that are coming around to add to the canvas. So this was like a big collaborative gratitude, hence the front cover. A little collaboration we all did together. And here's just some different expressions of the same human and little characters. And yeah, just a bunch of random stuff on this one as well. Here is a drawing I did, which is also a video up on the channel. I wanted to really practice movement once again. As you could see, I did a few drawings before, you know, of some horses and studies, and I'll try to attack the same subject and see how I can push and pull before I come up with something that feasibly feels good, truly. And I started off with a very fast, thick kind of acrylic paint background, and then I went with ink on top. So that was a very fun technique. Here is a drawing that I did with a gray micron. I've never actually used it, so once I got it, I'm like, let's make a whole drawing of this family. So pretty detailed, and this was the drawing I made with a gray fine liner. Here are two portraits, one with mixed media, watercolor, color pencil, ink, and another with like highlighters and some ballpoint pen, some colored pencil, some brush pen, and just experimenting with colors, flow. And usually I'll do brown for the hair, but here I decided to do like a dark green. I think this part's really successful. And this one just kind of came from imagination. Wanted to flow with different movement and just capture some blues and blacks together. Here is a drawing I did at the end of 2024 to just commemorate gratitude. I did a self-reflection piece in 2023, so this year I decided to do one just in another way, and I decided to paste the post-its of how it started, and then this is where it actually started, in these little compositions, and then this is how it came about as the finished drawing. And there are also prints of these up on my shop. Here is another drawing with a new colored pencil set that I got. I was always into Prismacolors and Faber-Castell pencils. And then I found another set of the landscape ones. I made a video about it reviewing the whole thing, but similar technique to this drawing and this drawings. But I wanted to try it with different color pencil brand to see how it works. So these are some of the swatches. Love the earthy colors, and that's what I came about. I really like the sanguine color, so I wanted to play with that here. Here is a drawing I did in the car once arriving to Key West. It's the first drawing I did. I was waiting for a friend and I had about 15 minutes. So here's what came about. Brush pen, view from your car, post up right behind the wheel, park your car, and get to drawing. Here is a demo I did for my Patreon, and I really wanted to capture like a person moving again, but with colored pencil, some warm-up exercises, a ballpoint pen colored study, and just fun shapes that we did in a demo together. I actually made a whole worksheet out of this and how I get these done with a lot of close-ups. And everything will be in the description if you're curious, if it calls ya. These were markers that you lay down a color, but then it comes with a white marker. It actually from the dollar store. And that white marker creates these lighter marks. These are super fun. I actually love experimenting with cheaper supplies. You don't need anything expensive because sometimes they make these cool effects that you can incorporate in your art. I think the simplicity of this one is really cool, and I like these on the bottom as well. Just a fun exploration. These are all cabaret dancers, and I was in a cabaret show, so I thought it was very fitting to take the everyday story from my own life and put them into my drawings as well. Some more colored pencil play. I was going on a trip, on a road trip to the mountains, and I wanted to take colored pencils with me, so I literally took all these different color exploration combos and swatched them all over the sketchbook. And I thought this was on a different page, and I thought this would be like a cool collar for him for his jacket. So I pasted that in here. All these different swatches and seeing how they relate to one another. I really like the blues and orange and yellows, and some of the darker indigo colors with this like lime and orange color and olive, just playing around. Something like I would do when I was a kid. I had a whole swatch library, so definitely gonna explore that a bit more. All right, I ended up getting another version of the 4-in-1 ballpoint pen, and it looks like this. It's got purple, orange, pink, and yellow. And I was like, oh, I love ballpoint pens. Let's make some drawings. So that was fun. Lots of different new colors and drawings. And the yellow ballpoint pen actually makes the drawings look like they're glowing. Check it out. These funny expressions. And that one also turned into a lovely sticker. Here it is. So yeah, some realistic cat drawings, some characters. These are all Tilda, and these are all just like funny versions of what she would look like if she was a cartoon, perhaps. I've done many studies of her, and she's one of my favorite topics. So much unconditional love for our pets, right? All right, here is a page of something I want to share with you that I do typically when I get in my head or when things just feel off or something. You know, we all have those days. So I literally kind of create a character, and I just have a conversation with myself and I write it down. And I also explored with different inks here and just gave myself uplifting talk, because that always helps, and doing it through art is always a beautiful experience for me. So I'm very grateful that I have a way to self-express this way, because sometimes it's literally this. Here's a spread of a combination of like a gold ochre and a blue and graphite. First it started off with this figure, then I made this one, and then these two came out in the moment. Definitely have to say I fell in love with drawing figures larger. So if you guys see the sketchbooks get bigger with time, do not be surprised. Here are some more studies, colorful studies. These were done with markers and ink. And this one was a morning I woke up and I said, I want to use crayons. Why not? So I took these neon crayons I got from the dollar store and I took some more neo pastels and just went to town and fell in love with this drawing. Really just had a blast with all of these. Based on popular votes, she turned into a sticker as well. So I'm a big lover on vintage cars and things. I decided to take some new microns and play around with that. Here are some cars and some architecture buildings. Love these antique looking lamps. Whenever I'm in Europe, I just cannot stop drawing lamps and windows. So much fun. Now, if you're wondering why this page is completely blank, this sketchbook has these little dotted lines that you could tear away the drawing, and I was planning on actually tearing it away to hang up in the studio, which I may do after this video, but yeah, I thought it was really cool, and I didn't draw anything in the back of it because I thought it would be a possible piece that original I hang up. Here are some Acro yoga. This was me actually practicing with a partner, and this was so fun and so freeing, and it taught me so much about trust. So after taking a video of the process of me doing it, I decided to take little screenshots of the video, and then I drew all the different poses that I learned. And I really love the way they came out. Now, did you guys know that microns make a brush pen that's gray? Well, I did not, and I actually used that to create this one. All right, moving on. So here was a time I had in Key West, and I took a bunch of pictures. Instead of doing one drawing, I was like, I really love all of these. So I did quick little thumbnails and created one big spread out of it. And these were some more studies with more movement, more dancers. Wanted to see how I can blend the graphite to just as if it's like morphing into one another. Different fun experiments here too. All right, more rainbow pencil fun here. Lots of rainbow experimentation and making the marks a bit more juicy and bold, and that's what came out here. And this was a drawing from life from the Miami Botanical Gardens, and this was just a figure drawing session I went to. It was out in the Botanical Garden, which was super cool, but the model hadn't arrived, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start drawing the greenery while the model arrives. Okay, here were new acrylic markers that arrived, and loved swatching these. And then this is the page that came about. This is a video up on the channel if you want to check it out as well. And this was all about playing with shapes, color, funky distortions and realism versus like a glow under with the orange. Just so much fun in this sketchbook. This may be one of my favorites so far. Here was a road trip to Blue Ridge, Georgia. It was my first time staying in the mountains for over a week or 10 days. And here's a view that I drew from life with a dark purple-ish, bluish colored pencil. And I really enjoyed how it looks because it's not black and it's not blue, but it's a very nice shade of colored pencil. On this spread, I ended up getting a glass pen and I dipped it in ink and created these spreads. I saw so much wildlife in the mountains that I decided to apply everything that I was inspired by to this spread, and I wanted to contrast the blue and the red coming in from the beginning of the sketchbook of these, and just playing around with that concept with creating the animal drawings. Look at this guy. Okay, on this spread was my first guided meditation that I made and released to my patrons. Wanting to put something out like this for creatives for a while, but it was just a very special new post that I came up with, and I got some really great feedback, so I was very grateful to put that one out. Here I practiced some more cats and just shared some thoughts that were coming up as I did. Here is a drawing that started on this spread, and then I ended up making these from life. I really liked taking the light purplish blue Tombow marker and working with brush pen on top and just playing with shapes, distorting some shapes, and just doing some beach drawings. These are also a great little trial round. I really love pushing shapes and movement with curvatures versus some angular shapes. Just a lot of push and pull throughout time and seeing what resonates, what feels right in the drawing creative process. These were some more dancer studies. Particularly love how that one came out. And then here was just a drawing that I wanted to stand alone on its own of these lovers, and they're just in graphite. This was a study I did with acrylic markers and just wanted to play around with a little bit more messy, colorful marks in a portrait. And this came out completely from imagination with a black marker. Love making these actually. These are just super therapeutic for me. And I would love to explore this on a bigger canvas and just see what happens. These are some little studies of hens that I saw in the Keys. They had like little babies under them, and I thought it was just the cutest thing to witness. And I wanted to research some fun facts about them and just capture that as little text amongst the illustrations. And this is watercolor, and it held up fantastic. Little watercolor and some color pencil on top. All right, in this page was something I called Think of Something and I Will Draw It. It was the first fam collaboration where I had a bunch of friends that we were all together at the beach, and we all just thought of something. We didn't say it out loud, but everyone had to draw something on the page. And here is a little self-portrait I drew after getting my very first bangs. And then I was really feeling into doing the artist's way, which I'm about to start with my community. And I just wanted to record this little moment in a little diary entry with illustration and text. I'm thinking about tackling this all together in a series of videos as well. So let me know if that's something you think would be cool or you'd be interested in watching. Here are some more dancers. Wow, now that I am filming this, I'm realizing how much I love drawing them and how many of them are actually in the sketchbook. I'm very happy I began to finally draw them and share this part of me and just authentically sharing it with truth. And here is a message. I was talking to another artist and I thought it was really special to just include it in the sketchbook because I found it to be super important and I really related to it of just having somebody to have an artistic conversation with. Super helpful for me personally. So that's another reason why I started this community, is for us to all conversate and have a community where we could talk about things, share things together, and just immensely, immensely grateful to be able to do so. Here is a sketch that started on this page on its own, and then it didn't have anything over on the left, but I decided to scan it in, print it out, and use a glass pen to ink in this whole illustration on pen paper. Full process is up in a video as well. A warrior woman that's got the wolf as her sidekick. And I thought it'd be cool to just tape it in for now in the sketchbook so that the sketch and the final ink drawing live side by side. Here is some more figure drawing practice in a demo towards the end of June. And I remember this being just a very wholesome drawing session where everybody just learned so much and there was really great feedback. And I've just, every time I have these sessions and I teach them and guide them, I just feel like I'm on the right track of doing what I do because I love it so much and I love helping others realize that they can achieve the results they strive for. And I love showing people that anything is possible and that they could do it. And we have reached the final page where I did a little bit of brainstorming on what this sketchbook season has taught me, and also just a little pep talk. I feel like this is great to do after you finish a sketchbook because you really look back and you just notice on all the things that felt special throughout that time. I think this sketchbook has also taught me to look at sketchbooks differently. Kind of fell through, I was just drawing to enjoy it, and that's just what kind of came about throughout the whole journey here. I hope that you enjoyed this one. This was definitely a big boy, jumbo, massive tour, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you have a beautiful day or night wherever you are. Remember to just create for you, create on whatever makes you happy. However it is that you want to fill your sketchbook is good enough, and however you enjoy to create, whatever lights you up, go ahead and do it. I'm sending you so much love and light wherever you are, and I will see you guys in the next one.